Kaz and Risk, and welcome back to Koppai Podcast, episode 13. I am one of your co-hosts, Kaz and Risk, joined alongside Mr. Koppai himself, Zach Risk.
What's up, Koppai Nation? Welcome back.
Koppai!
Yeah,
We actually did that pretty good for being over a Skype call.
Yeah.
We got the sync and everything. And we are thrilled to be back in here and talking about Nintendo. And before we get into the Nintendo news, there is a whole bunch to cover. We have just pages and pages and pages of notes with stuff that's happened so far in 2016 and stuff that we have predicted or is leaked or whatever. There's lots of leaks this year about what's going to happen going forward in 2016. We want to do a little bit of housekeeping, and in case you haven't seen it yet, on our Facebook, our Twitter, or any of our social media outlets, we have launched a Patreon page. And we're going to be using this over at patreon.com/ I believe it's Koppai, or Koppai Productions. If you search for Koppai on Patreon, you should be able to find us. I think we're the only ones with that name. What we're going to do there going forward is do giveaways and have a place for people to support us with all of our content. And there's different forms or tiers of money that you can give us, where if you give us like $1, you're entered in for exclusive content. And this week, actually, if you go support us right now, we have a special Pokemon 20th anniversary episode that's about an hour long. So we're going to have that once a month, and we'll also have giveaways. Right now, if you support us on Patreon, we have an NX giveaway. And I know what you're thinking. The NX isn't even out yet. But if you enter it and we get to a certain milestone mark, then we'll give away an NX or whatever it ends up being called. And then eventually, or this week, we're also giving away an amiibo to anyone that just shares or likes or favorites or follows or subscribes or any other possible way to support us. You don't have to give us money for that amiibo giveaway. We're doing that this week too. And so all those details are over on our new YouTube, our new Twitter, Koppai Media, or our new Facebook, Koppai Productions. Lots of stuff there that you can find there, but we thought we should go ahead and plug that real quick. And also, if you really want to share something that we just made to kind of represent our new brand, we've made a music video called Settle It and Smash, sort of a parody song video where we just goof around in front of the camera and make a bunch of Smash Bros. Fan service references, as well as pop culture, such as Hillary and Donald Trump and stuff like that. And so lots and lots of fun stuff, and we're excited to share that. And going forward, we'll have more details about what we're going to be adding to that. We hope to expand into other forms of productions and media like comic books and more music videos, more songs, skits, sketches, as well as our weekly and monthly exclusive podcasts. And so, Zach, if there's anything you want to add, we can go ahead and add that. But I thought we shouldn't dwell too long, just because we thought our work should speak for itself. But very, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that, and I think you did a good job explaining it, and I think you did a really good job at making all the banners and stuff. I think it all looks really professional and nice, and it's a really cool, rebranding that's a lot more. I think we're way more refined and professional and ready to go for, the many years ahead, instead of, kind of when we started and it was, we just kind of ran with it. Now we've taken a step back, thought about it, really carefully, and we're, ready to charge forward, I think, in a much better way. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we've really doubled down on the specific Nintendo aspects of this.
Right.
For some of you, you may know that I've written for IGN a lot, and I've been featured there a few times. I've written about 100 or so blog posts over there. And some of the feature ones have been about Splatoon, have been about Zelda, have been about Super Mario Maker and stuff. And so, and Zach's done a lot of music production and other sort of graphic design. And so together, also along with Koppai, and so together we've really been pouring our hearts into lots of the gaming industry and productions. But we found that Koppai, and specifically Nintendo, has always been really what we've kind of specialized in.
Right.
And have had the most to offer. We've been able to talk about PlayStation, and we had that Nuka cast with Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
But we really, really know Nintendo, we think, and want to be able to offer that. And also, we love the Nintendo community. It always seems to be a little bit of a different kind of perspective in the gaming industry, really open and stuff. And so we really want to feed into that community and kind of hopefully gather enough followers in one spot that we can really have lots of relationships built around Nintendo, which is a really big driving force of why we're making this Patreon page, making it a Facebook page and Twitter and all of that. Hopefully,
Right.
as a place to talk similar along like to IGN's podcast Beyond, and now kind of funny with Colin and Greg and Tim and Nick, what they have going with like PS I Love You and stuff. How they are known for like a really big group of PlayStation people, and you don't really see that with Xbox or Nintendo.
Right.
And we know Nintendo well, and so that's why we're not going with Xbox. But we want to kind of have something along those lines as far as a community where we can get together and have Koppai live and have hundreds of people come and really have a party. And so,
Right. It's just like we when we took our step back, we had a lot of consideration of what we wanted to do going forward, if we wanted to make a podcast that was more centered around every aspect of gaming, or if it
mhm.
was just about life, or how what we were going to do. And it just keep Nintendo has been such a fundamental part of us growing up, and every single year it's what we follow the most and are most passionate about. And I think it just kept coming back to Nintendo, and so we just continue with the same formula. It's like we just can't get away from Koppai and this Nintendo community, and the love we have for it all. So it's just inevitable. I think it's just natural that we continue doing this, and so yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I think the last thing I want to say is there was in the midst of all that we did have I think at least I had a little bit of fear of like, but if we do just do Nintendo, what if we want to talk about the new Uncharted or like we want to talk about Star Wars and stuff like we can't talk about that stuff along the veins of Nintendo. Although Lego Star Wars is coming to Wii U and 3DS, probably with like the original DS and stuff, they have like every platform covered with that game, and so we will be able to talk about that stuff as it relates to Nintendo.
Right.
But I think also though, even though like we do have that limitation of not being able to talk about all that stuff, it can kind of reflect in the passion that we have for Nintendo because there's going to be those moments where even though we are in love with Nintendo and very, very admittingly like fanboys for Nintendo, we can justify a lot of stuff they do. We also do voice concerns and um, we're not completely biased in the sense that we do offer things that we wish they would improve upon. Um, Even like if we're somewhat like cold and brutal and say we don't like the graphics of this game or the art style or the direction or even like the online infrastructure and like while it can be hard to kind of voice those concerns because we do have such a deep relationship with Nintendo, we're not going to waver away from like the truth, no matter how hard it is with Nintendo. And so
Right.
going forward, if you're a new listener, which we're hoping to get a lot this week with the giveaway and with the rebranding and the kind of professional design of everything, we're hoping to get a lot of new people in. If you are a new listener, if you're someone that stuck with us from the beginning, shout out to Mango Viking. Um, then we hope that you understand where we're coming from and that you really jump on board with this Nintendo discussion as we go forward. And I can't think of a better transition to the Nintendo news than that. And
Yeah.
so that's all out there. We'll put the links down below if you want to find the Patreon, the NX giveaway, the Amiibo giveaway, all the exclusive content with the YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and the Settle It and Smash music video. But I think now, Zach, you can go ahead and get us started into the news with some Twilight Princess.
Yeah. Probably the biggest release this month for Nintendo was
Or this
Twilight.
year.
Yeah, this year so far, yeah, Twilight Princess HD was released this month, and it's been selling wonderfully. It was number one in the UK, and I think it sold like record numbers here in the US too. So
Yeah.
it's been doing really well. And it's inevitably built hype for the upcoming Zelda, which will likely be on both the Wii U and Nintendo NX. We're thinking hopefully this fall, and likely we'll be hearing more about the Zelda NX Wii U hybrid at E3.
Yeah.
But because of the release of Twilight, the developers have been a bit more talkative lately. We've heard them get putting up like various videos on Nintendo's YouTube and things about behind the scenes information. And um, Ionuma gave a really in-depth interview to Famitsu, where he talked about a little bit about the new Zelda, where he said it's going to have a more of a Western influence. And the full quote is, "I think that the base of our secret sauce has always been Ocarina of Time, but this time the change in flavor will be like going from Japanese food to Western style food. Perhaps players will be surprised. Please look forward to it because I think we'll be able to make something new like Ocarina of Time was," Aonuma added. So, yeah,
Mm. Hmm.
it seems like this, because basically since Ocarina of Time, almost every Zelda game has been
Yeah.
somewhat formulated off of it. It also seems like sometimes they'll take more of that like elements from A Link to the Past and bring it in because it seems Ocarina of Time uh, moved away from some of the elements of A Link to the Past in like the very first Zelda game
Yeah.
because it was going to 3D, and then some of the new iterations they've sort of mixed, I think, the elements of A Link to the Past in
Yeah, like A
Ocarina of
Link
Time.
Between Worlds is definitely or a link to the past, and
Yeah,
like Minish Cap and the Oracles of Ages, and see, like all of the kind of portable um, or Zelda games have been along that formula. While the 3D ones, it's very similar to like how basically every Mario now is Super Mario 64 in some
yeah,
way or another, and or it's Super Mario World.
yeah.
Super Mario Brothers. I guess you could go all the way back to.
So yeah, it's an interesting quote. I think we kind of expected it because I'm not sure. I think last year sometime he stated that Far Cry was, going to be an inspiration
Yeah,
for the game, and that he was playing some of those open world games. And since they had um, the game was supposed to be released last year, and they get put this delay on it, I think, to
yeah,
like
it's
make it so
insane.
much better. And I really think that they've taken some of these new video game releases on other platforms and these open world, like this craze of, big open worlds, and they've tried
Yeah, The
to
Witcher 3 is,
I
I mean,
think, yeah, they
squashes what like we would like if Zelda would have come out alongside The Witcher 3. Like
exactly, yeah.
even though there's that Nintendo charm with it, it's like come on, The Witcher 3
Yeah,
is
that's what I was gonna say, is that they kind of have to take into account that the landscape has changed a bit for video games, and that if you're going to release a game like a new Zelda, it's gonna compete with games like The Witcher 3 and that, so it has to take those games into account and what things worked with those and what things they want to, keep with the Zelda formula, and how they don't do how they're not going to probably make a game exactly like Skyrim or Fallout where it's just here you go, here's the world. I mean, it might be like that, but I think that, they're going to compromise and make, do their thing about their style of this kind of open worldish, but keeping it, Zelda at its core, which I think is going to be really amazing. I can't. I'm so hyped for this game, and I've been playing the
yeah.
Twilight Princess HD, and
You've been playing a
just
lot of that this
yeah,
week.
yeah. And we might talk about that a little bit more later.
Okay.
Aonuma gave this in-depth interview to Famitsu, and it goes on a lot of, goes into about a lot of stuff about the development team that they handed over the remaster to, and kind of their communication during that. And there's some funny bits and a lot of information, but due to time constraints, we're not really going to go into all that. But check it out. The translated interview is in its entirety on NintendoEverything.com.
Yeah.
So our next
Yeah.
story.
Well,
What?
real quick
Sorry.
before we go
Yeah.
to the next story, I just want to say I've been playing at least last week and the week before when Far Cry Primal came out.
Oh
I was playing a
yes.
lot of that for the sake of review for my university's school paper,
Uh huh.
and was really enjoying it, and I've really loved it. I want to get back into it because I haven't completely done everything you can to do in it. But there is one instance in particular where there's like this ice cave that you find up north, and it's interesting because you have a bow and arrow in the game, and you can light and almost anything on fire because it's kind of that caveman
Uh huh.
esque sort of thing where it's like I have a club, I'm gonna light it on fire. I have an arrow, I'm gonna light it on fire because they just discovered fire. And there's this I almost said temple because there's this cave dungeon sort of area where in order to progress and find this little collectible in the game to get the coveted platinum trophy, you have to dip your arrow in fire and then shoot out icicles to
Uh huh.
progress. And I'm playing that and I'm like, this is Zelda right here,
Yeah.
but it's so well blended into the world because I mean there's no okay, yeah, I'm entering a temple now, I'm entering a dungeon, I'm entering in this, like it's just you're walking, you're wandering, and all of a sudden you're solving puzzles to get to a collectible, and it's
Yeah.
like this is very well done. And it's interesting that you had like mentioned that Ayanuma has been playing Far Cry, and I think at the time he was probably playing Far Cry 4,
Right.
although most likely he probably played Far Cry Primal if he liked Far Cry 4.
Uh huh.
And he probably played The Witcher 3, and I think someone from Nintendo said they were playing Fallout. I know Sakurai said that he really loved Fallout 4. And so most likely the people at Nintendo are playing games like those. And you have an example like Far Cry Primal where there's this intricate developed story with actually a lot of rich like history and study like with the language behind it all, and then you have a temple like that or a dungeon or a cave, almost like an afterthought. Like, let's put that in there too, because it is relatively simple now in the day and age to make these kind of, all right, shoot out this thing of ice and shoot out that thing of ice. And so imagine a Zelda like that, where it's, I mean, they've kind of hinted at that in the past, even from the very get go, that their design in mind was to have it like you don't even know that you entered in a temple. That it's
Yeah,
just kind of like the world itself is the temple
right.
or the dungeon or the puzzle and stuff. And so, with the art style they've gone with, and with the Zelda musical charm, and just the Nintendo charm that they have, if they add in all that and stuff, it's gonna be really exciting. So I would recommend that people kind of go check out those Far Cry games, to maybe if they're waiting for the next Zelda, along with Twilight Princess HD. If they have the console to do so, really get a feel for that because there's lots of cool Zelda, probably even like nods. Like there's no doubt they've been inspired by those developed games, and so
Yeah.
but yeah, move. Sorry about that. Just I wanted to add
No,
that in.
yeah, that's a great point. I was even thinking about that lately because even in the first initial reveal trailer of Zelda Wii U that we got, um, it really feels like they have that where you're in that open field and then all of a sudden the monster just kind of it feels very natural, like
Yeah.
that it's just gonna kind of flow in and out of cutscenes and story elements and things like that, and it's gonna have a very like you said, that kind of Far Cry feel where it does that kind of seamless transition of dungeon and puzzle and all that. So that's really cool. But yeah, moving on, our next story comes from Hack Informer, and the headline is Super Nintendo Virtual Console games leaked by its own emulator for the new Nintendo 3DS.
Nintendo. So many leaks
Yeah,
this year.
yeah, there's a lot of data mining that always happens with these, devices and games that Nintendo releases, and we always seem to find some sort of hidden information deep down. It's kind of seems almost like impossible to entirely stop. But yeah, um, of course, in the last direct, it was announced that SNES Virtual Console games were coming to the new Nintendo 3DS. Some of these games have already been released, such as Super Mario World, Pilot Wings, etc. So the story is that someone in the 3DS homebrew community has investigated the data inside the SNES emulator that Nintendo uses for the new Nintendo 3DS's SNES Virtual Console. The result was a list of games that are most likely coming to the Virtual Console in Japan, and they could come to Western.
Most likely.
Yeah, most likely, but there are, always those some exceptions. Like
Yeah.
possibly, okay, I'll get into the list, but some of the games were already known and some of them weren't. Some of the games listed include SimCity, Fire Emblem, which I'm wondering is the Fire Emblem.
Yeah,
Some of
if
them
it's the
haven't been
Japan list, it
westernized.
probably is the original Fire Emblem that we won't get
Yeah,
over here,
right.
but
Kirby Bowl, Gradius 3, and even Wrecking Crew 98.
hmm.
And then there was a lot of other obscure Japanese named titles that we likely won't get over here. But the ones like SimCity is really interesting. Gradius 3, I could see us potentially getting a Wrecking Crew 98. Those are
Yep.
all potential ones that we could get over here.
Mother
Nothing's been
3.
yeah, and that's probably going to be announced this year. It's like really speculated, but Nintendo hasn't confirmed anything on the list, but it is Nintendo's own data, so it seems like it's probably quite credible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that data mining stuff, I mean, especially this year, if it's any sort of credibility to it or something, I mean, the leaks this year have been spot on. We had the Sun and Moon leak. We had,
Yeah.
I still don't know if we've gotten confirmation on the Zelda Picross
Oh yeah,
leak,
that's
but
got to be legitimate though.
yeah, I mean, the image of it was
Yeah.
absolutely perfect,
Uh-huh.
and we have this leak. I know we've had some others. We had a leak about the Nintendo Direct, which it didn't include everything because I'm pretty sure it didn't cover Paper Mario and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it had a lot of other stuff, almost like spot on, and some really, like you said, like obscure stuff, where it's just like how would we have predicted that? Because almost actually, not that it was so hype, but that was so like they're actually talking about that, but the leak covered it, and so really interesting year for Nintendo as far as leaks go. More so, I think, than any other year.
Yeah.
Um, I don't remember this being a track record. As a matter of fact, it's usually been very, very tight over there as far as they
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
have let anything leak. I mean, even last year at E3, the only thing they had to leak was the Super Mario Maker stuff because someone took a picture at the E3 kiosk that had a poster for it, but beyond that,
Yeah.
it was nothing. So that I
Yeah,
can
it's
recall.
that's really fascinating. Yeah, they usually are known for their super tight security, and I almost wonder if their kind of change in business and how they've kind of been having a lot of, switching around and kind of trying to figure out, everything moving forward and getting a new president, if there's been any like security concerns or people like kind of opening up more or like
Yeah,
a
lack of
change
loyalty.
change in those terms or something. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, definitely it has seemed like some more sources are getting out there. We're getting some more information maybe before we're supposed to.
It's probably
And
because that Eric guy left, Mr.
yeah,
Nintendo. He was
yeah,
probably
Mr.
the one that
Nintendo.
was cracking the whip on everyone, like, don't
Yeah.
tell what's happening. And now he's gone, and it's just everything's breaking loose with Iwata and Mr. Nintendo gone. It's just chaos in the treehouse and in the.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
gonna miss Adam Levine.
oh yeah, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm pretty sure his name was Eric, but yeah, we need to get him on Koppai.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Cope, yeah, we're gonna miss you, Mr. Nintendo, and you need to come on the show, and also Bill Trinan.
Yeah,
We're
Bill
still
Trinan,
waiting.
we forgot to give the shout out in the beginning because we are so concerned about the Patreon, but our weekly shout out to Bill Trinan. Come
Yeah.
on. Uh,
Yeah, anyway, speaking of the SNES on the new Nintendo 3DS, our next story comes from Game Informer, who reached out to Nintendo about their decision to make the SNES Virtual Console games exclusive to the new Nintendo 3DS. Now, some people have complained that the things such
of
as
course.
the ambassador games that were released to early adopters of the Nintendo 3DS, and that the 3DS is about 100 times more powerful than the SNES. So why is it not on both? That's what the complaints say. Well,
Yeah.
Nintendo has responded, and this is what they say about SNES exclusivity on the new Nintendo 3DS. This is the quote. As previously announced, new Nintendo 3DS has an improved CPU, which enables Super NES games to run on the system with quality results, Game Informer was told by a Nintendo representative. The Super NES games also include Perfect Pixel Mode, which allows players to see their games in their original TV resolution and aspect resolution. So yeah, that's the story, and I I definitely see the complaints. What I found was very interesting was I'm not sure if it was from that same Hack and Former place, but somebody has there's like a homebrew thing that people have been putting on their 3DSs, and it allows you on your like new 3DS to switch between the old processor speed and the new processor
Mm.
speed so you can compare the performance of games, and it also allows you to like use the max frame rate on like Pokemon X and Y so it fixes those frame rate issues in games that don't take advantage of that extra power. Um,
Oh, nice.
so that's something that people have been doing, but they did test the SNES Virtual Console emulator and found that when you do go down to the normal CPU rate, it is dramatically, it's a
Which
terrible
is
frame
so
rate,
weird still.
unplayable. Yeah, it's gotta be. I mean, I can see the complaints is valid because I would see that, they specifically made this emulator likely with the CPU speed of the new Nintendo 3DS in mind, and possibly if they would have worked harder, and kept, doing patch, I bet they could have worked really hard,
Yeah.
like, homebrew developers do when they're developing. We saw on the Game Boy Advance way back in the day, there was an SNES emulator that ran not good. I would say it probably ran a little bit worse than the performance comparison of these CPU speeds, but still, when they do little tweaks, trying to make it run better and better, it gets progressively better as they put that time and effort into it. So it might have been just too much of a, trying to do all these tweaks and patches, and how stable is that, and is it, I bet it was just, much more convenient to make a good working simple emulator on the new Nintendo 3DS. So I see that. I see both sides, I guess, of the issue because on one side it seems like another argument is that the Sega's been releasing these 3D Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and
Yeah.
all these games, so how can they do that? So yeah, it's an interesting discussion, I think.
Although with the Sega remasters and specifically with Sonic, because I think we both own those, or I at least own the first one. I think you own a couple of them,
Yeah.
and have played through the Sonics again and stuff. With that though, they are completely remastered. I think from the ground up as
Yeah.
far as these CRT TV modes and 3D mode and this mode and all that mode. Like they've recreated that Sonic game, probably. I mean, very like almost down to the skeleton and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's not emulating it. It's running a very actually like relative to today a very just weak game,
Yeah.
in 3D. But this is emulating an entire console, and even though it's 100 times more powerful,
Right.
I'm not going to pretend to know the science or the engineering behind putting a console into a game, into an emulation. I mean, it's just all weird, and
Yeah.
you just don't know like what kind of resources are drained at that point. While also, I mean, it's running an SNES essentially, while also running all of your background stuff and background processes, and so it's just very interesting. But
Yeah.
my complaint with it was going to be two things. Um, One, you mentioned the Sonic and the 3D stuff. It is kind of a bummer that they didn't go with that sort of route because even though it would have limited the amount of games they could have had available, it would have been so epic to have Super Mario World 3D,
Yeah.
where it was the original 3D Mario or the original Super Mario World in 3D, like with the 3D slider on and stuff.
Yeah.
Or even, I mean, some of the other games, like it just would have, I would have rebought that full price because now I don't know if I'm going to be jumping on these very quickly because I have
Right.
them on my Wii U already. And if it's
Yeah.
going to be 2D, I don't know if like the 3DS incentive would be to get it in 3D. Like I own the Sonic games, I own the Kirby Classic in 3D, which was really epic to play that in 3D. And so that was my first complaint. Although I did view Pixel or Perfect Pixel mode and it is very gorgeous. Like
Yeah. Hmm.
they had that in oh excuse you
Sorry.
your voice ran a little
Yeah, my
crack.
voice cracked there. I'm
Yeah,
hit
I,
puberty.
yes I did. Nintendo Perfect Pixel mode.
Brrrr.
Triforce Heroes. um but sorry, I thought it'd be better to call it out than just try to ignore it. The new rebranded Koppai. But no, I was gonna say the Perfect Pixel mode. I viewed it in the eShop and stuff, just like what they had for the preview there, and it's insane because I mean, it looks like it's HD, but it's on a 3DS, which you don't normally see that level of resolution on a 3DS, and so it's interesting how they were able to achieve almost like an up-res resolution on a screen and device not capable of that. So
Yeah.
that is very impressive for itself. And so while there's a complaint in that, there is a very bit of high praise for that. And
Hmm.
so, and my other complaint was going to be kind of what I've previously alluded to is just the price point. Even though
Yeah.
they're on sale now, for those that own a Wii U version, it's still, and like Nintendo Voice Chat talked about this, Kind of Funny talked about this. I think Game Explain talked about this. Just everyone that talks about Nintendo has talked about this with the fact that, all right, we need to buy these games for like what, like a fifth time now? We bought them on the SNES. A lot of people bought them on the Game Boy Advance when they had remasters there. We bought them on the DS, the 3DS, or the Wii U, the Wii. I mean, it's just like, my goodness, these need to be, they need to have a Nintendo network that brings these all together. And so, and I think they know that, and they're doing the best with what they have. Like, they don't have a system in place where they can recognize that you own them on both, or if they do, they don't have the resources yet to completely justify making that $1, or also maybe they're just brilliant and they know the fact that people are going to pay that money, and
Yeah.
it's like we could make this free or we could get $8, and let's get $8 for
Yeah. Yeah.
doing this again. And so I probably won't get any. If I get any of them, I'll probably get Super Mario World because I own that game everywhere I can possibly own it. I would buy it on the Vita, PS4, Xbox One if I could. Like I would have it just everywhere on my phone and everything if I could, because that game's just classic.
Well,
But yeah,
one of the things they should have done for sure is made it so that if you buy it now on your new Nintendo 3DS, it is cross-buy on the Wii U. Like I was considering because I watched the trailer for the Pilot Wings. We used to play Pilot Wings,
yeah, we did.
mess around with it and stuff when we were younger. We didn't fully grasp, it's kind of difficult for us as children. So I was looking at the trailer, thinking like, wow, there's so much of this game that I have yet to experience, and really considered, like, do I want to purchase it on my new Nintendo 3DS? But thinking about it, it's like I would if it meant that it's also going to be on my Wii U. But why would I buy a console game? I want it to be cross-buy. If I'm going to buy Pilot Wings, and it's gonna be the $8 price point, I'm gonna want it on the screen, and
Yeah.
maybe then buy it on the cheaper one, like the discounted one on my new 3DS. But then that's too much of a hassle, so I'm just like, I don't really know what I want to do there. I'll probably just skip it, like there's so
Yeah.
much, and
I wonder,
so
and I wonder how many people are going to skip it if they would have like, are they? Because if they're selling it for $8 and one person buys it, they make $8. Just I mean not to count on the cost of how much a server costs to host the game and how much production costs. Like let's just say essentially they make $8 relative to everything. Or if they would have sold it for just $1. I mean, I would have bought all the games if they were a dollar each. And if you have 10 people do that, they're making 10 or two more dollars, or 20 people do that, they're making 12 more dollars.
yeah,
And it's just like it's that whole kind of Walmart thing where Walmart sells it for a little bit cheaper, but a lot more people buy at Walmart now. And so they make that money back and having more people come. And so there's that to it, but I'm not too sure. My other big thing is like you were saying, kind of along the lines of I want to buy it, but I also want it on my Wii U. Then another big concern for me is I would buy it, but what am I going to have to rebuy it on the NX when that comes out this year?
yeah,
And is that going to have a handheld? Is that going to be that hybrid we've been hearing about? Because if I want Super Mario World on a handheld, why not just wait for the NX handheld version?
yeah,
But also, is that going to take another 5 years into the cycle for that to happen? And so, I mean, you would think the NX could handle it right at the start, or you think Nintendo would be smart enough to do that right at the start. But also, we're dealing with Nintendo right here, where
Mm,
they have all this going on, and so there's so much of a gamble going forward. And I think the final thing that comes down to it for us and for the listeners and for everyone involved in this is do you really want to play Super Mario World in 3DS or on your drive home or for college or on your commute? Then buy it, Then it
yeah.
is worth $8. If you've never played Super Mario World and it's on the new 3DS in pixel perfect mode,
Hmm.
that is I would pay $60 for that, like
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
it depends on who they're reaching to.
Yeah, because we
And
played, Super Mario World. I can't even imagine how many times I've gone through that
oh
game.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Like yeah,
So
unable to
it's
count.
at that point with some of those that it's, can live with it or without it. It's, we're not those people that this might be one of our first experiences, or even if you're younger and you have played it a few times and it's still even more fresh than it is for us at this point because we've
Yeah.
just played it so many
That's
times.
that's true. Although there's two things I want to do that, and then we have to move on to our next story.
Right.
But I was kind of thinking, and while we were talking, maybe this is Nintendo going for someone that's never played Super Mario World before, because they do kind of have that whole new generation coming up. Like I don't know how many people this past month or so have played Pokemon for the first time. Like
Yeah.
I'm seeing tweets where people are like, "Wait a second, how do I get cut? And how do I use cut?" And
Yeah.
like you and I are doing our Nuzlocke, and we're just
Uh-huh.
we're going at it, and we'll talk more about this if you head over to patreon.com/Koppai Productions. You can listen to a whole hour about Pokemon and our Nuzlocke challenges. But we have all that. We know it like I mean by the back of our whatever back of whatever we know well, and
Yeah.
and you have people that don't, and you have people that don't know Super Mario World. But how many people own a new 3DS and haven't played Super Mario World? Because this is only on a new Nintendo 3DS, and you would think the people that own that new, brand new, high edition version of the 3DS would be diehard Nintendo fans. Because from what I've heard online and stuff, not a lot of people did the jump up, and if they did do it, it was people like us that were like, we want the best graphics, the best processing. We want to play Xenoblade, like stuff like that.
Right.
A lot of people that are just more casual with Nintendo, who would be the people that haven't played Super Mario World, probably opted for the 2DS or for now the cheaper price point regular 3DS. And so all in all, very unique and interesting move by Nintendo that we'll never completely understand, as with most Nintendo news,
Yeah.
because it's just like there's some sort of studies they have there that say this is the best way to go.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
almost wonder one last point before we move on, because we really gotta get moving on. But
there's,
I almost wonder if this was supposed to be like a launch thing, because we know like the colors of the buttons and the whole design when
oh,
we
that's
first heard
true.
it, that it might have been one of those things that they wanted to just have it ready at launch, and it would have maybe pushed a bit more sales, or something. If they would have had it more ready to go, more titles, and really made a big deal about it a little bit more, maybe more people would have gotten the new Nintendo 3DS. Um, but yeah, we got to move on. We got lots more stories actually to get to, but the next stories come directly from Nintendo. Um, and this one is kind of a big announcement about the
Yeah.
new mobile game that's coming out. The
People.
Nintendo Twitter of Japan, the Nintendo Japan's Twitter account announced that Miitomo will launch in Japan on March 17th. And the game is supposed to be out this month also in the West, but
That's in a
there's
couple days for
no.
those that are listening on
Yeah,
our
yeah.
Twitter
Thursday.
or
Thursday, I believe.
SoundCloud or yeah, Thursday.
So yeah,
Weird time to launch.
that'll be so interesting though. Even though we don't have the actual date for here in the West, it'll be so fascinating to actually like see it, happening and how people are using it and just like more details about how it all
Yeah, I'm
functions. Because
excited. I mean,
yeah,
and I don't say that to be like, oh, it's Nintendo. I'm excited for something, but it's just something that hasn't really completely been done before. An idea of social media messaging based around your kind of personality or something. I'm not even completely sure what it is, but I think back to like Coke Music, which I used to play a lot as a kid,
yeah,
or like Habbo Hotel or whatever that was called. That was some freaky stuff online. Like that was, I don't know how old was I when I played that because I remember you were in middle school and you would get me Coke caps for my codes.
uh-huh,
And so that had to mean I was in elementary school, so I had to have been like 10 or so, even younger probably. And I'm on the internet with strangers.
yeah,
That quickly introduced me to the dangers of the online world and the corruptness and the sickos out there.
yeah,
I have so many interesting stories from Coke Music where I just would be like, "Yo, come over and chill in my Coca-Cola pad," and just these freaks come over and they're like, "Yo, kid, how old are you? What are you selling?"
yeah,
But but anyway, it's there hasn't really been something like that as far like along those lines where it's like I mean a phone and I used to work at a daycare and stuff in high school as a part-time job, and all these kids have mobile phones. They have smartphones. They have you go to I'm on the light rail to go to work in Minneapolis, and there's kids that come on the 3 p.m. train, and they're all coming home from school, and they all have smartphones. And I mean, you look back at Tamagotchi Life, which was a huge, I think, success for that age group of people that are like, oh, you hook up, Billy hooked up with Sally in my Tamagotchi Life game, like
uh-huh,
kids love that. And
yeah,
adults love that too. Like, there's adults that like to just kind of like to fantasize or have that imaginary sort of world and stuff. You look at The Sims. You look at, I mean, every sort of there's so many games out there that do that, and so I think it could have potential to be a big success.
yeah,
And I could also just imagine that if it's anything like Tamagotchi Life combined with Facebook messaging or something like that, it's gonna be fun. The Mii's have a really cute charm to them. I think anyway. I know a lot of people don't like the Mii brand, or I think it's just because they poorly associate that with, or associate it poorly with the Wii brand, which now has exhausted itself and it become a really bitter taste in our mouths.
right,
If you would have asked people 5 or 10 years ago if they liked the Wii brand, they'd be like, "Absolutely, Grandma loves it." But
uh-huh,
now it's just kind of overstayed its welcome. But I think it's going to be very, very fun, or just definitely a new kind of cool shakeup in the mobile industry. And I think we'll also see it this month. Like, I don't think it'll be too much later than March 17th for us because I
yeah,
think they said March worldwide. And so,
yeah, yeah.
um,
I could see right before the end of the month. That's what I'm kind of guessing. And
yeah, the
yeah,
31st makes sense or
yeah,
something. Like, that's a Thursday. And so,
yep.
2 weeks later.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how it all turns out and stuff because it's their first mobile game and it's kind of their first experiment. But I do think we'll be seeing some more major line titles. I think it's really just kind of their soft
Yeah.
launch of something. So yeah,
Probably, honestly, probably also there. I mean, if it's like Tomodachi Life, they're going to get a really good demographic of how many people are going to be using Nintendo on mobile, because Tomodachi Life like says how old are you, what's your gender, what's your skin tone, what's your favorite kind of sushi. I mean, they have all those weird questions, and if they are able to data collect that through Miitomo, they can put that out there, and it's like, oh, like a bunch of 5-year-old girls play Miitomo, you know,
Yeah.
they're all on their mobile phones playing this game. Let's make a very specific Princess Peach game, you know, or
Uh-huh.
oh, we have a, I mean, and it could be kind of skewed because you have people like us, you know, that are going on. It's like, a bunch of 20-something-year-old guys are playing this game. That seems kind of weird, but you have this people that are going to support Nintendo no matter what. But that also is kind of now that I think about it, a really brilliant move for them to do a game so based on demographics as their launch title for mobile.
Yeah.
Kind of a sneaky way to do that.
Yeah. Also from Nintendo, this past Friday, March 11th, some of the most popular and critically acclaimed Wii U and Nintendo 3DS games became a part of the Nintendo Selects program, and they will be available at the suggested retail price of only $19.99 each.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that was really awesome back and years ago, like with I think around the Wii they started doing that for the first time, and we
Yeah, I
got
think so.
like, I remember getting like Mario Galaxy for that, and it was really
Yeah.
nice to get it like super cheap on the shelf at Walmart after it'd been super like a big retail AAA high price game for so long. The new list of selects is Super Mario 3D World, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Pikmin 3, NES Remix Pack for Wii U, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, Yoshi's New Island, Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, Mario Party Island Tour for Nintendo 3DS, Super Mario Galaxy 2, Animal Crossing City Folk, Donkey Kong Country Returns, and Super Mario All Stars for Wii. These games can also be purchased digitally through the eShop, which just happened, just made that announcement that now you can also, because at
Yeah.
first it was announced that it would be retail, and now it's like, go, you don't have to leave your home, just hop on that eShop and get these games
And
if
use
you have the
Miitomo to
space.
message your friends. You never have to leave again. It's just Nintendo is
Yeah,
next. They're
Nintendo's
gonna
taking
have
over.
yeah. They're gonna have like what is it? The paratrooper Paracoopa. What
Uh,
is it? The one that flies.
yeah,
Is bringing you food or something? A food service and like Amazon now.
yeah, NX will
Um,
have that feature
yeah,
probably since it's
and X
connected to
gonna
everything.
NX food. X gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
but no, solid list.
yeah.
I already own a lot of these. One of the games I don't own that I really want to get is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time 3D. I borrowed your copy to play that game, and I never owned it myself. And I was gonna buy it before I borrowed it from you, but it was like $90 online
Yeah.
because it went up, and now it's actually kind of dwindled back down to the
Hmm.
$40 range. Um, that's still so much for a game that I've already beat and stuff, and I want it because I'm vain and I like to look at my shelf. I mean, I have every amiibo and I have, I mean, every box of and the collector's editions and steelbook cases and stuff. Like I like that, and so I want to own it. I don't want to have it digitally. But my other thing is I'm looking at the Nintendo Select and I like that, and it's a chance to own it for $20. But I also don't like. I'm not the biggest fan of the red around it that says Nintendo Selects. It's almost like,
Yeah.
oh, I was a late adopter for this, and I'm like, I want to be the first there, even
Uh-huh.
though I'm lying to myself and to everyone by saying that because I wasn't the first there. I want to just look like that. But no, a game that I would be comfortable getting the Nintendo Selects version of is like I don't own SNES Remix Pack, and for $20, that's a solid game.
Yeah.
Um, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is really looks really fun. I still don't own that completely.
Yeah.
But any of these other ones, like if you're not vain like me, or if you're an eShop buyer, all of these games for $20. I mean, even down to Mario Party Island Tour. Like I know that's not the most highly received game. I mean, for $20, I could just imagine that being a fun little like. I mean, you and I play Mario Golf from time to time.
Yeah.
It's fun to have a 3DS game that you can kind of party with other people. And even though I don't like the new direction of Mario Party, it's still fun mini games. And so I can't look at a game on this list I don't think is somewhat worth $20. Even Yoshi's New Island was poorly received, but it's Yoshi's Island at its heart. And even though the art style and the music is a little bit of a jolt from what we know and love, it's still fun gameplay wise from what I heard.
Yeah.
And so really solid deal, awesome. Hopefully they add more to these in the future.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think they will. I think as the Wii U dies down, this is probably like their the best of the best of what they have. And so, but yeah. Moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and cover this one if that's cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
We have our Patreon exclusive, as we've mentioned. This for the month of April, or for March, April, we'll have another exclusive around the mid April mark over on our Patreon page for all of those that support us at $1. And this month we have a special Pokemon 20th anniversary episode of Koppai Podcast. And we'll be saving most of our Pokemon related discussion for that. We do have some Pokemon news that we want to address, but if you want to head over to our Patreon page, you'll find that there. And we over there, just so you have a little tease of what's going to be found there. We're going to discuss the Pokemon news we're about to get into, but also talk about our Pokemon Sun and Moon hype, initial impressions, speculation, some places that we think the game may take place, what we think about the starters, the legendaries, all of that. So lots of discussion on that. We're going to get pretty in depth with that, as far as I know. We still have yet to record it. And then we're also going to talk about Pokemon Co-Master, Pokemon Go. We've each been doing our own Nuzlocke challenges on Pokemon Red on the eShop. Zach has made it very far. I have replayed the intro part like 5 times now. I've had the most brutal wipes. It's been absolutely devastating for me, and I've lost some Pokemon that I love and care about dearly. They've been murdered in front of me, and it's been heartbreaking. And so it's going to be a really funny, entertaining discussion. I mean, Zach and I have had a blast talking about it with each other, and we're super excited to share our stories with you. And so that's over there. But to get into a little bit of at least the meat of it here in the regular Kopai podcast, because we don't want to jip you guys from any crucial content for those that don't have the money or the want or desire to support us over there. We do want to say that the Pokemon Company and Heroes, HEROZ, all capitalized, are working on a brand new Pokemon adventure for smartphones and tablets called Pokemon Co-Master. Pokemon fan site Cerebi, right? Is that how you say it? Cerebi?
Cerebi. That's how
Cerebi.
yeah.
I've never had to say it out loud before. I've always just read it. Cerebi, like the Pokemon, is reporting that Pokemon Co-Master combines Pokemon and artificial intelligence and is due to be released this spring on both iOS and Android platforms. Quote, it is a strategy board game on mobile devices where you collect virtual figures, each with their own unique attributes, to make a deck and try to defeat your opponent. It is one player and has online play and is free to play, having some purchases within the game software, so some microtransactions in there.
Yeah.
And then there's some other news we have to talk about Pokemon coming up here, but really fun, kind of similar to the Pokemon trading card game that we used to have on mobile and portable devices and stuff. And I mean, Pokemon Shuffle's fun. Pokemon Go will most likely be fun. All these kind of Pokemon branded mobile stuff is usually a high level of polish, a nice little addictability to it, and usually kind of cloning other really popular games like Pokemon Shuffle is Candy Crush, and
Yeah.
kind of also a play on Troze, which they used to have, which I think was probably before Candy Crush. But I mean, they just kind of usually do that, but with their Pokemon Charm, and so you have the class or the type matchups and all of that.
Yeah, it almost
Uh,
seemed like it was a bit of a Hearthstone-y kind of game. It just seems really cool. I'm really
or
fascinated to
Gwent.
see.
Gwent is so fun from
Yeah.
Witcher 3. Yeah, I want to get into Hearthstone and stuff, but it's like League of Legends for people that do that.
Yeah.
All they do is Hearthstone. Like
Right.
Damon Hatfield from GameScoop on IGN. Like every
Yeah.
time they do the games you're gaming, it's always Hearthstone for him. But also from SarahB.net, we have some news that the new Pokemon games that were just announced at the end of February, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, are going to be getting, I believe, some information. The next edition of the Japanese publication Kurokuro promises that it will have some degree of information to share about the highly anticipated titles. The next edition of the Pokemon magazine is released on April 15th, 2016, and so we'll most likely hear about stuff on April 13th or 14th
Yeah.
as someone at the office takes a picture of the
Some
photocopies.
yeah, some horribly blurry picture with some like
Someone like
bright
doing a
light shining
cartwheel
on
while
it.
taking a picture of
Yeah.
like, yo, catch this magazine, I'm gonna take a picture. Like literally coming off the printing press and they're taking a picture as it moves. Um, the magazine also teases something called Pokemon Elections, which is related to Pokemon movies. Again, details about this will be announced about this next month, and we'll get into more speculation over on our Patreon exclusive about what they're going to be share with this. I would think we would get a good look at maybe screenshots of gameplay. Maybe that's really too much to ask. Maybe it's just going to be pictures of the starters. But I think it has to be something substantial. I mean, what else can they not say now? Like they have to say some sort of detail beyond
Yeah.
something, and I doubt it'll be release date quite yet. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I'll go ahead and stick with Pokemon, and then we'll hop back over to you for some of the other stuff. Also, the Pokemon Company has announced that Pokemon Bank is offering the legendary Hoenn Pokemon, Regirock, Regice, and Registeel, all based obviously on Regifizime. From now until October 31st, 2016. Of course, you must have subscribed to the Pokemon Bank service to use it, and it is $5 for the entire year. Not bad, especially with Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow being able to transfer over to Pokemon Sun and Moon. Really good deal. We definitely recommend it. We've used it a lot in some of the most, maybe not the most moral ways to genetically clone and mutate our Pokemon. But the Pokemon come with their hidden abilities. Regirock comes with Sturdy, Regice comes with Ice Body, and Registeel comes with Light Metal. So really cool. I like getting those. Like they had Mew and they had Cerebi and all that. But also at the same time, it's like, yo, I didn't catch these guys. I don't want them. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go catch them myself. Forget you.
Uh-huh.
Um, but a really cool opportunity, and especially most of those are banned in competitive play anyway. They're like Ubers or something. So it's not even like, oh, cool, I get this for like the hidden abilities in the collective or competitive play. It's like you can't even use those. So and also remember that Pokemon or Pokken tournament is almost out. It'll be out this Friday the 18th worldwide. So if you're hyped for that, we are too. Actually, we've really kind of, at least I've come around. I wasn't completely sold on it, but now they've had coverage for it. Looks like a solid fighter, and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it
Kind of
is.
has that Mario Kart 8 aesthetic where it's just the menus click and they're shiny, and it's
Yeah.
just.
Yeah. It's got a great
uh,
polish to it. It's yeah, they did a great job.
If you're not, yeah, like we said, if you're not entirely convinced yet, there's been a lot of coverage going up all over the fights and new stages, so go check that out. Hopefully, if you support us over on Patreon, we can get to a point, or if you follow or subscribe, we can get to a point where we get early copies of games and have those impressions for you on Koppai. But yeah, we're really excited for that game, and once it comes out on March 18th, I think you and I are both gonna get it on launch day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've committed to that yet. I'm pretty sold,
Yeah.
especially with Amazon's discount and stuff. And so I want to get on that, and we'll have impressions for you. If that's Friday, March 18th, we'll be able to have impressions for the Koppai of the week of the 21st, and so we'll have those for you. And yeah, for the last bit of news, Zach, you can go ahead and hop on over and cover that.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, Nintendo gave us a direct on the 3rd, and the news that Kaz and I were probably most excited about was that the new updates were coming to Super Mario
Super
Maker. Yes, every
Yeah.
Koppai episode, I think we inevitably have to talk about something Super Mario
Yeah,
Maker
we've
related.
joked about renaming the podcast Super Mario Maker. Even our rebranding is really based in that kind of concept
Yeah,
of Super
yeah,
Mario Maker and stuff. And so I made sure that like our cover image for the Koppai playlist on our YouTube is our Mario Maker episode. It's just, I mean, yeah, Super Mario Maker.
yeah. It's one of the best games that has ever been made. I think that we were
Yeah,
right in our assessment. Like when we were hyped for it when it was about to come out, we just kept telling each other like, like one of the greatest games of all time is about to come out right
and
now.
I
Like
mean, and
it's gonna
like you,
change our lives.
not to keep referencing kind of funny, but we're just really avid listeners of them. And Colin Moriarty over there, huge contributor to the video game discussion. He's been in documentaries about the history of video games. He's been just someone who analyzes it and stuff for, I mean, years and years and years, like almost to the point of decades now, because he's been in the industry for so long. And he always makes the point that games haven't really evolved since arguably the N64 when we switched over to 3D. Like that was the last kind of big change.
Right.
And ever since then, every game could arguably be played or the gameplay experience could be made on the N64. Which is really true. Like you have a game like Uncharted or The Last of Us, which people argue are like the games that push forward the boundaries of graphical and gameplay power, but at its core, the gameplay could probably be done on something like the N64. It would look terrible,
Right.
but it could be done. But you have a game like Super Mario Maker, and I don't know if that experience could be done on anything but the Wii U. And if it could be done without the graphical power of what we have now, like it needs that fluidity, it needs that powerhouse to have all of the sprites on one page, it needs to have that theme transfer, and it needs to have that gamepad in your lap to completely create and customize in the way you want to do it. It's one of the first games since the N64, I think, that's had such a use of like futuristic hardware. I mean, I guess he did mention like the Wii and stuff, and the Wii is definitely a big argument, and motion controls and stuff like that. So yes, you do have those, although beyond like Wii Sports, there wasn't any that like completely revolutionized things. Like you have Super Mario Galaxy, where it's just a waggle, which we could have done without that. And Skyward Sword, I don't need to get started on and how much we could have gutted the motion controls in that game.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely just like, I mean, when you say it's one of the best games ever,
Yeah.
it is.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's a historical landmark, I think, for games.
Well, and they're making it even better because there's new updates coming. We were probably most excited about the key door announcement, which is now that if you shake a P
Yeah,
switch block, it turns into a key. Or if you shake, what is it, like a coin, it turns into, or
yeah.
how does that work exactly?
If you shake uh, a P block, you get a key.
Yeah, because I've done that. I've
If you
done.
shake a door, you get a locked door. And if you shake
You have to
a
shake the door
coin,
three
you get a
times,
red coin.
and then
And
yeah,
you can have a max of 5 red
right,
coins
right, right,
per sub level.
right. Yeah, that's right. I have played around with it a little bit because we told each other we're gonna make a couple levels
Yeah, I
to
need to get on
promote.
that this weekend. I'll try to have one. I can't talk about it now because I haven't made it yet.
Right.
But hopefully by the time the podcast is up, which will be this Tuesday, yeah, you know, the 15th, the Ides of March. Hopefully I'll have one made. Even if it's really basic, I may honestly remake one of my old levels, but add in some of the new updates because I've missed a few updates.
Yeah.
Um, and so I may want to remake one of my levels or one of the ones I've already started on. But I mean, we talked about this. You can go back to our previous Koppai podcasts over on youtube.com or Koppai Productions. We still need to get a custom URL there. But we talked about that from the very get go. I think even before the game came out, that we wish there had been some confirmation. And then when the game came out, we wish that there had been some sort of way to force a boss fight.
Yeah.
And I have a level, we ride together, we die together, where you have to ride on Yoshi the entire time. And I wanted to make the level where you couldn't progress without Yoshi. And there's a way to force a boss battle there where I made it so you couldn't fight the boss or something while on Yoshi, or like you had to have Yoshi, but then you couldn't get past the next part because there was spikes, so you had to have Yoshi to walk on. And
Yeah.
there's certain ways to gimmick it, but you often had to like make a whole screen dedicated to the boss fight
Hmm.
to kind of cheat the system. And this way, you can have a huge open world and a giant Bowser wandering around, and be like, you have to kill that Bowser. Good
Yeah.
luck.
Uh-huh.
And so,
Yeah, it's an awesome update. It's probably like the best update I would say arguably so far that they've made for the except I guess checkpoints are probably a
yeah.
little bit
Well, those are more practical,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
mean, this is because you even like to make the collectibles and stuff. Like this
Yeah.
completely changes the game. Like you can
Yeah.
have puzzles now and boss fights. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it revamps and adds millions of possibilities. And so,
Yeah, like one, I'll just give a quick example because I've started my level, which will go up with this podcast in the description, which is called the Pipeland, where I use this new mechanic, and it's basically it's like a level with tons of pipes that you have to like hop up on and maneuver around. But there's this area that I made where you have to like jump narrowly between spikes and grab the key on your way down, and so you have to like
hmm,
jump through and grab the key and make sure you get it. If you miss it, like there's a pipe to start over, but you have to like make that jump and grab the key on your way down and to open the door. So it's really cool how like right off the bat there's like some cool new things that you can do with this
yeah.
update. And then there's a few more updates which I haven't tried. There's a new skewer. Um, Guess it probably counts as an enemy or something. That it's one of those. I think
Yeah,
that
if you shake a thwomp.
if you shake a thwomp, yeah, and it's I think they first originated in Super Mario World, um,
Yeah, I believe
something
so.
like that. So I don't know if they were in Super Mario Bros. 3 or not, but if they weren't in Super Mario World, it probably would have been 3. I'd guess because I think like thwomps were first introduced in 3, if I
It's,
recall correctly.
yeah, it's all
Um,
blurred, and especially now it's Super Mario Maker. I'm like, I can picture a thwomp in
yeah,
Super Mario Bros.
yeah,
That's
that's
because
crazy.
Super Mario Maker has made it in that, and so
Yeah,
they look all cool. I looked at all the styles of each, and the new Super Mario Bros. U1 looks devastating. Like that is that'll cut you in half if you
Uh,
fall underneath it. And so,
yeah.
uh,
Um, they also added a new super expert mode. I think I still have yet to beat expert mode, but I may have beaten it once or something like that. But I know that a
yeah,
few
it's
times I've
impossible.
tried, I've gotten some super ridiculous, stupid levels in that expert. I can't imagine what super expert mode is like, but I'm definitely gonna have to give it a shot.
Although it is, we haven't really been able to discuss this, and I don't know if many people have even acknowledged it, but there was kind of complaints previously that Nintendo has announced that they are deleting or unpublishing levels that don't get a lot of, I think, completions or something.
Yeah,
And that's a good way to quietly and very seamlessly filter out levels that people use glitches on.
yeah,
If they're impossible to beat, they're just being, or like people that put those levels up where it's like, there's an invisible block some here with a P switch, and the only way to progress is to hit that block, and only the creator knows it. Like, it's like, come on. That's
uh-huh,
not expert level design. That's making it hard for the sake of making it hard. Like, you're not a good developer.
right,
And so, um, gonna be really fun to try out super expert mode, and it's just nonstop Mario. It's incredible. And also, I want to say before we go on to the next story about the costumes and stuff, if you want a level for us to play, if we have the time to do so, we've been really busy lately with the whole rebranding and pushing out this content for you guys. But we'll definitely try to and at least play one. If you want to leave your course IDs down below or tweet at Koppai Media on Twitter, we'll play your levels and maybe offer some impressions and stuff in the next Koppai podcast, or at least get back to you in some sort of way. We really want to kind of foster that community of people that play together. And Super Mario Maker is an excellent way for us to do that and share each other's levels. And sometimes it can be so hard to get stars on your level.
yeah,
And so we'll guarantee you a star even if we hate it because we just love that you supported us.
yeah. Yep, for the last bit of Super Mario Maker news, because I think that's. Oh no, wait. They added a. They updated the bookmark website, so now that it shows world records, and so you can now save and attempt to beat like people's world records. And also, they added a new button onto like the menu for your levels. When you go onto Course World and click on your levels, you can now click on the little death icon of the X, the white button with the X, when people have died in your levels, and you can go through and see all the comments and deaths manually, like just kind of scrolling through your level. So that's
Cool.
really cool. Um, there was some new costumes that were also pushed out with this update. For some of them have even been discovered in normal mode and expert modes, and I think a lot of them were added to the super expert difficulty. Some of the characters that were added include Tetra, Nabbit, Balloon Fighter, Volleyball Player, Baby Mario, Hikari, and more. I went on and played some of those event courses, and a lot of them are really fun, and you get some really cool ideas with it. So definitely go check those out. But we got to move on because we're kind of running out of time. So, speaking of the direct, since it's been a couple weeks, we won't go over everything that
Yeah.
was discussed and announced. But go check that out on Nintendo's YouTube page or their Twitch stream.
Yeah,
And
really solid direct, I thought.
yeah, it was. There was some really cool stuff, and especially like just seeing the announcement for Super Mario Maker and stuff, and just living, going through it all and seeing it happen is really hype. It's a really cool moment
Yeah.
when they announce all the things that they announce.
Yeah, we watched it together after filming Settle It and Smash.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you go see that video, like we're sitting there in front of the TV together, and you can just see where we watched it and stuff. And we should have just filmed our reactions
I know we
together
should have.
there. Oh, that would have been legit. Why didn't we do that?
Yeah,
Oh, come on. That was, oh my gosh. That
yeah,
would have been perfect. That would have been made for an excellent video, especially we freaked at the Super Mario Maker
yeah,
outfit.
we did.
And your dog Simba just was barking and freaking, and it
Yeah.
was so good. But yeah, to talk about the direct real quick, like you said, we won't get into it in a lot of detail because it's been a couple weeks and
Uh-huh.
other outlets online have been able to talk about it. The big thing I want to say is that it was a solid direct, and it really turned me around on a lot of things. One really big thing it turned me around on was Star Fox Zero. Um,
Yep.
that game, even on Koppai Podcast, I've adamantly been against.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Um,
we've not had good things to say about Star Fox Zero
and,
every time
and
we've talked about it.
and I still have complaints about it,
Yeah, me too.
but I'm definitely hyped now for it, and for different reasons than I would have been before. And one of the big things I want to push is like one of my thought processes is, and this may be a really weird analogy, so I may lose some listeners or people be like, no, you're just trying to defend Nintendo blindly. But I look at it almost along something like Shovel Knight, where Shovel Knight is a new modern game, but it has those pixel art sort of aesthetics to it to mimic a classic game. And when Nintendo really pushed the retro R Wing with the amiibo support and the very like they're like openly admitted like yo we're gonna go polygon with this, it made me kind of think maybe like this design can almost have like an aesthetically pleasing quality to it, honestly because it looks so bad, where it's like maybe
Yeah.
the jagged polygonness of it is supposed to mimic that N64 thing. And we've talked about that in the past, like that was kind of the art style they're going for, but we just didn't like it.
Yeah.
But kind of with that new appreciation in mind, I've been able to appreciate it more. And like they've also done other things to just improve the textures overall.
Mm.
And I've come around on it. Like there's certain explosions that used to just think looked awful because they're like literally like triangles coming out of something, but now I look at it and it's like, but that does look like what it would look like on the N64, but now it's in HD. And I think I think it could have its own certain quality to it
Yeah.
in that sense. And while I'll say all that and say that I appreciate it now, but I also want to add, maybe for my own credibility, I do wish they would have gone somewhere else with it. I wish they would have gone the Star Fox Assault direction, which was very detailed, very packed. I wish they would have gone with something more along the lines of like what Zelda U will be, where it is Zelda, but they've upped the graphics and it's
Mm.
insane now. Like I wish they would have gone with let's redesign everything from the ground up, where it has that Star Fox aesthetic, but it's very detailed. You know, I wish they would have gone with that, but I can see the merit in them having the polygon look. And the other thing I want to say before, because I know you have some stuff to say, the other thing that I've also kind of come around with is I still don't know if I'm a biggest fan of motion controls. I've been very open in the past about how I hate Skyward Sword's motion controls, and I don't like that being forced in. I don't use them with Splatoon, but I've also heard from people that have been able to have hands-on impressions, and we've also heard a little bit more about from Miyamoto about the game, and it seems like people are trusting the controls a little bit more now. And
Huh.
I think Miyamoto has even been more open about like, oh, those aren't the difficulties in development. The difficulty in development was this, and that, you know, or like it seems like they they would have scrapped the motion controls if they weren't intuitive. And so I'm developing a little bit of a trust that the motion controls are going to work out and be cool. They may not be my favorite, but they could be also, like we were mentioning with Super Mario Maker, a unique sort of perspective and gameplay that we haven't been able to have in the past. That people have even mentioned, like with VR, where a really cool thing about VR is that you can shoot where you don't aim, or that no, you're shooting somewhere you don't even aim. No, you can shoot where you're not looking. Like with the VR headset, you can use the controls to shoot to the left, but your head's looking to the right. And you can kind of have that similar experience, it sounds like, with Star Fox Zero, which could be really cool and exciting. And so I'm excited for Star Fox Zero. I'm going to pre order my copy. Any other things, real quick, before I let you get into your thing, is Paper Mario's coming. I don't know enough about that game to give a thought on it. People are relating it to Sticker Star. I still haven't played Sticker Star. And so I just don't have much to offer with the Paper Mario thing. I think it looks gorgeous, and I love Paper Mario. Everyone I've played so far, which is the N64, Thousand Year Door, and Super Paper Mario. I've loved them all regardless because I just love that aesthetic. Kirby Planet Giant Roboto looks really good. I'm excited to play that because I love Kirby. And then Metroid Prime Federation Force, I think, is a disaster.
Yeah.
Now you can have it, Zach.
Okay. Well, okay, commenting on your Star Fox Zero impressions and everything about your coming around. I think we both have come around a lot more on that game.
Yeah,
I think that initially, I don't know if I have to go back and check the Koppai archives, but I believe that um, initially, I think that you've always been a little more on the graphics, like beating on the graphics than I
yeah,
have. I
definitely.
think that I kind of tried to argue that it's part of the aesthetic like of Star Fox, and that's just kind of it's kind of that arcadey.
Yeah.
Um, And so that's never really my big issue with Star Fox Zero is those motion controls. And if what you say is true, that the people have like Miyamoto's come out in defense and like people have been getting hands on
Well,
and it's been
yeah,
feeling more
people.
natural.
I know, like, sorry to interrupt, but I
That's
know,
okay.
like, Tim Geddes, for example, from Kind of Funny Games. He's played it at, like, I think at E3, he played it a couple times. He played it maybe at PAX and then at GamesCon. And he said by the fourth time, he was starting to get it, which I know sounds like it takes you four times to get it, but you also have to realize they're throwing him into a level.
Yeah.
He's never played it before. He's surrounded by a bunch of people. He's like some sort of kiosk playing it. I mean, you play a game like at Target, you can't completely grasp it, or at
Yeah.
GameStop or something. And also, he's played it four times, but I mean, each time was probably a 5-10 minute demo before
Yeah.
someone else in line can move on. So if you can get the controls in 20 minutes, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's designed in such a way to get it to you. And also, I mean, there's games like, I mean, there's lots of games out there nowadays where it takes a little bit of a tutorial to get you into it because games have evolved to the point where you have all these different things to learn. Like Far Cry Primal, for as my latest example, as the latest game I've played, it's taken me a while to realize, oh, this is how I can do this, and
Yeah.
I can do this cool little trick by doing that. And even though those are very traditional controls, it still takes about, like Star Fox Zero, 3 to 4 times picking up the game before you're fluid with it. And so
Right.
when you hear someone say that, it's like, dang, it took you that many times. But if you were to say that out loud with a lot of other games you've played, it would probably be very similar.
Yeah,
So
but still the fact remains just that it's not ideal for me and
yeah.
like that I it makes me think about because I did play Star Fox 64 3D on the 3DS, and they did have the gyro option of like flying around like that. And I
Hmm.
played around with it a little bit, and it might have been partially that the 3D at that time was not the new Nintendo 3DS, so it didn't really stay as
Oh
well.
yeah.
But I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
like trying that out, and it was kind of fun and gimmicky at first, but then it was just like, all right, I just want to sit down and fly normally and like use my
Oh
thumbs and control, and that's what I'm hoping that I just don't know. It's just not my ideal. If there was, the option, I would really like it, and that's
yeah.
that's my biggest complaint. My other big complaint, I guess, is probably the fact that I hear a lot of people saying that they're looking often at
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
gamepad,
yeah. That is huge.
and so yeah, when a game like Star Fox, where I really like, even though it's like the graphics may not be like overly insane, I do like the visual experience, of like the flying through space and seeing it on the big screen and all that. So I'm hoping that I don't know. I hope that I can. I'm definitely like going to get it, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And it does look like a lot of fun, but yeah, my biggest hangups are probably less like the graphics and all that, but it's more of just like these motion controls really concerned me. And when they announced that they were going to delay it, I really hoped that they were going to work out some way to make that less like toned down more or something. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I'm still
My
a little bit confused on that game, but overall, I have come around like you a bit more on it, and it's just always been those dang motion controls.
Yeah, that's Nintendo for you. My big thing with or what you were saying is looking down at the gamepad. I hate that too.
Yeah,
I hate when, like, even like Super Mario 3D World had that where you had to look down and like tap certain blocks every now and then.
yeah, and that was
Um,
fine. That was totally fine. Like to
oh,
blow
I
on
hated
it. Oh
it.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Even if you hate that, then I mean, come on.
Although two things to that, I did like it a lot though with Wind Waker, where you could look down and check your map and stuff. So that was intuitive.
Yeah, that's nice.
Um, the motion controls are gonna be one of two things, or the gamepad thing. One, it's gonna be really awesome and immersive, like Mario Kart, where people love using the Mario Kart motion controls, and even though you and I have shifted to more traditional controls, a lot of people still play it traditional or with the motion controls where
Yeah,
my fiance, for example, she rocks 200cc with motion controls. Like,
yeah,
it's intuitive, it's easy for people to pick up. People do that a lot with Splatoon, and
yeah,
so it could be awesome like that. And also, you mentioned the kind of cinematic aspect of going at it, and you want to just look at the TV. It looks like the gamepad view is from the cockpit, though, and I wonder if that could even offer more immersion by you're looking at the TV and you see the kind of cinematic aspect of it, but then you hold up your gamepad and it feels like you're actually right there because you see it from the point of view of Fox. that could be either
Possibly.
really that could be really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
possibly. It could be really cool, and I'm just trying to be like the optimist here, where it's
Yeah.
like it could be really awesome, where it's like, whoa, like I'm shooting at this boss
Mhm.
or at Slippy, and I'm shooting him down, and it's like, and I'm actually there. Or it could be something where it's like, dang, like I this hurts my neck. I want to look at the TV, turn off this screen, give me my Pro controller, and
Yeah.
let's go. And
Yeah.
so. I don't think it'll be terribly bad, but it could be less than ideal.
Yeah.
I think either way, it's worth buying and checking out, and
Yeah,
we'll also
definitely.
we'll also probably see more details because it's not even like till the end of April that the game comes out, and so we'll probably get maybe even another direct where it has more details. Although they've been doing a direct about every 3 months, and so we'll probably have a pre E3 one will be our next one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about more Paper Mario, Metroid Prime Federation Force, and Kirby Planet Giant Roboto um, in the upcoming Koppai podcast, or even just like on our Twitter or social media stuff. Maybe if you guys have any questions, you can contact us there to ask about that.
Yeah.
Um, not lots of impressions besides the fact that we're excited for Paper Mario and Planet Robot, and we just need to see more details. And then Metroid Prime. I mean, I think the reasons we don't like it speak for themselves. It looks terrible, which I don't think there's a way you can justify that, even with the 3D slider or what it'll look like on the 3DS screen. That's a DSi game, up res to the new 3DS or the 3DS.
Yeah.
And even I bet the gameplay, honestly, it probably is really fun. I do want to say that.
I watched the Jose IGN video where he went in with a team and did one of those missions.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I mean, it looks, uh, like I don't know, it looks all
Metro Prime
right.
Federation Force.
It looks all right. I mean, it
Yeah,
doesn't look like as I don't think that the hate for it is quite, as warranted,
justified.
but I don't think it looks amazing, and I do think that the criticisms of like the chibi style and all that, I think those are all warranted. I think those are all
Yeah,
valid criticisms and
yeah.
are the reason why
I
it's
think it looks terrible.
yeah,
And that's not a Star Fox thing where it's like I'm gonna come around on it when I start to love it more. No, that is a terrible looking game,
yeah,
and it should have been scrapped.
yeah,
Honestly, it should have been scrapped because it seems like they've been working on it for 9 years. Someone had some sort of sunk cost fallacy with that game and just wanted to finish it.
yeah,
And they should have just given up on it. But honestly, hopefully it transfers over into the next Metroid Prime because it seems like after this is done, the guy is open to doing a new Metroid Prime.
yeah,
Just for some reason, he was stuck on this game. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this transferred over to the next Metroid game with the whole concept of playing with friends and kind of like what Halo's done, where there's that co-op element to it. I wouldn't mind that. That could be really cool to have a Metroid adventure where you're Samus and you're going along with other bounty hunters and stuff. Um, but yeah, not. It needs to be an NX title where it's on the home screen, and kind of have that Halo-esque vibe where it's like you're going on this epic adventure and others are with you, but not this.
yeah,
This is just all sorts of wrong. And
yeah,
so, to end on a positive note, I want to one more time just reiterate before we close out that we are Koppai Productions. We're a Koppai podcast. We love talking about Nintendo. We have a lot more to talk about this year. One of the really we've mentioned in the past or in this episode that the reason we really doubled down Nintendo is our love for it, but also what better time to talk about Nintendo than this year? I think it's going to be a dramatic year for them, and really kind of shake things up for the better, with the launch of the NX, some new business moves, their mobile initiative, all sorts of stuff. And so we're going to be back every week to talk about Nintendo. We'll be back again next week, either Monday or Tuesday. We haven't decided what day we're going to stick with. We're launching this Tuesday for the sake of our Patreon launch, which is March 15th. But we may go back to stick with Mondays, which we used to do in the past. Um, we don't quite know yet. But if you want to support us, you can hop over to patreon.com/Koppai Productions. And all of that support is just going to go straight into Koppai. We don't we're both working in a time right now where we're making money, so we're not like depending on this for financial support. But any of it does really help to make Koppai better. And we have very clearly spelled out on the Patreon page where the money will go as far as milestones. And if we hit a certain mark, what we'll do with it to make it so Koppai is even better. We're not just going to take it and run with it. we're going to try to constantly reiterate on what we've done to make it even better with the more support that we get. Um, and the only reason that stuff on there is not available now, like the comic book, like the weekly giveaways, like more music videos, is because we just don't have the time or the resources to do that yet. Anything that we do have the resources to do, like this weekly podcast, we'll give to you for free. We only ask for money for stuff that would be beyond our means right now. And so hopefully we've spelled out a plan, a mission statement, and a service that appeals to you. And if you have any concerns or something that you wish we would be doing better to get your support, feel free to message us on our Facebook page, on our Twitter at Koppai Media, or you can email koppipodcast@gmail.com, or tweet at us individually at ZachRisk or at KazRisk, ZAKRISK or KAZRISK. And we'll talk to you. We love to have that community and those relationships being built. Yeah, so check out all the stuff that we've already plugged. Links are down in the description below. And if you're watching on SoundCloud where you don't have those links, like I said, hop over to our Twitter and we'll have more stuff there. And so, Zach, if there's anything else you want to say to close us out, we can go ahead and close out. But I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, thank you all for any and all support. Like, share, subscribe. Let's get this Koppai train rolling.
Yeah, if you share this video with hashtag Koppai, if you like us on Twitter, anything like that, you're entered to win the Amiibo giveaway this Friday.
Yeah.
And the Amiibo is your choice. We only ask that if you do choose an Amiibo, it's not a crazy $60 bundle or one of those super rare ones like Rosalina, which I think is like $90.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to stick to that $20 to $30 range. But if you want Amiibo and it's the only one missing from your collection, we'll help you out and we'll get that Amiibo for you if you win the giveaway. And so, no limit of entries. If you share all our stuff, I think there's like a max of like 20 or 30 possible ways to enter, and so you can use all of those if you want. But yeah, just go at it, go to town, support us, and we'll support you. But yeah, we're so thankful for you guys. We appreciate all you've done. Sorry that we went long, but we had so much to cover and catch up on with the latest Nintendo Direct, and we still cut out stuff. But oh, and one last thing, be sure to check out our Pokemon podcast over on the Patreon page. And so I think that's it. We'll talk to you guys next week, and as always,
Koppai! Oh, crap.
Oh, we got it. We did good.
Okay.
Yeah, Koppai.
Cool.
Oh no. Okay.
Okay. Koppai! All right.
Yeah.
I think we got it that time.
Sounds good. That'll be a great ending, though. Everyone else at home trying to do it also. I think that was a good episode 13.
Yeah, it was.
A good return to form.
Whew.
Oh my gosh, that was exhausting, though.
Yeah.
Hopefully it recorded.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to shut it off and check it out.
All right, are you going to hang up and stuff? Or
Yeah, I'll probably hang up and check it out, and I'll talk to you on Facebook.
All right, perfect. Right on.
Yep. All right, talk to you there. Bye.
Yep. Bye.